Have you ever heard this? RVs are not meant to live in full time. I hear that all the time. And that's just a bunch of Hey everybody, welcome to Tigner Adventures. My name is David, and today we're going to be talking about, can you live in an RV full time? The answer is yes. It doesn't matter what you live in actually, whether it's a house, a big RV, a car. You know, if you don't take care of things, you're gonna have problems. We lived in a seven bedroom home, 5,500 square foot on a half acre. That was a lot of work, and that's why we decided to retire and sell that and buy this motorhome. This is a lot less work, and it's easy to keep things up on this smaller version of our home than it was on our larger version of our home. But there are a few basic things that you need to know and some tools that you should have. So we're gonna break this video up into 3 different areas today. I'm gonna show you some basic tools just to have around, just in case you need to do some things. And I'm also going to go all the way up to the most advanced portion of it, which you may not want to do, but there's extra tools. I'm just kind of showing you what I have and kind of where I go with this whole process. Welcome to my garage. This is my garage. My kind of the way I look at this is my tow vehicle. I tow it behind my motorhome. You guys that have trailers and things, you have your vehicles that you're towing your trailer with that you can store things in. But I'm always going to have these tools with me. If I'm driving my car and I have a problem, I have my tools. If I'm driving the motorhome and towing the car, I have my tools. And so this is a really great place to store the tools. In this case, I've bought a little toolbox here. Everything I have, well, I can't say everything, but a large portion of everything I have is from Harbor Freight. They're more inexpensive tools. They don't cost an arm and a leg. They have 3 different versions of tools. They have ones that were made by Pittsburgh, Chicago is the brand. That's a little less expensive. The next one up is Doyle, and the highest version of it is Icon, which will pretty much can go up against pretty much any other tool that's out there that you can find. They're very, very top of the line. All 3 versions of that have lifetime warranties, so that's really handy. So now when you're starting about tools and starting out and things like that, you don't have to have a lot of tools to do just basic things. If I look in this one drawer right here, these are what they call wrenches. They're just a standard type wrench, has open end, and like this one here has a boxed end. So open end, box end. There's different versions or different sizes of them. The ones I like these ones that have this automatic ratchet thing built into them. Makes it a little simpler, but they do cost a little bit more. But you can buy a basic set for about 15 bucks at Harbor Freight, and they come in 2 different styles. They come in metric and they come in imperial. So metric is going to be like
11, 12, 13
millimeter. All right. The imperial is going to be like
1/2, 7/16.
So you have to look at what vehicle you have and what type of tools it takes to be able to work on it. But just a basic set of wrenches will get you a long ways. The next step up is sockets. So I have a number of different size sockets here. I have metric and imperial, different size sockets, and a ratchet that I can use to undo those sockets. Along with my sockets, I have some extensions. This is just add-ons that you can get to reach into those areas that are hard to get to, so that's something that you can add on. All of those can be very inexpensive. There's just add-ons, extra things that you can get if you want to move down the road that way. Wrenches are the most important. Some other wrenches that come in handy are these adjustable wrenches. They're called, I call them crescent wrenches. People call them adjustable wrenches. You just turn the handle, it makes this bigger, smaller, and it helps you be able to get, especially like propane bottles and things like that, places that maybe you don't have the exact larger tool, you can have a bigger connection on it. Something that comes in handy all the time is a good screwdriver. And I have a set of these different screwdrivers that have Phillips and flatheads. But I have a number of these that are laying all over the place, and it doesn't matter. Every time I go to find one, it doesn't have the right head on it. So I've now got this one here. This is a multi-use one, and it has Phillips on one end, and you can pull that out and adjust it around, and it's now a flathead on one end. This is the large size. On this side, it has a smaller version of the flathead. If I pull it out, it has a smaller version of the Phillips. And if you pull those out and just look at the ends of them, these actually act as a nut driver also for those size nuts. So it's a really good multi-tool to have. This particular one is from Cobalt, but you can find these in Harbor Freight also. A good set of pliers is good. This one's called a slip joint pliers. They slip back and forth, and it determines how big the nut is that you're going to grab, or pipe, or whatever you're going to grab. If you need to use something to loosen something up, that works good. The other thing is some kind of cutters. So you want some basic wire cutters. These work really good. Here's some needle nose that allow you to get back into places. These aren't as needed as much as just having some nice little cutters. But the needle nose does come in handy. These are just extra things. This one is I use for my solar. It cuts big wire, so my wire for my solar, it's 4/0 wire. It's this big, and this will cut it really easy. A couple different hammers work out well. This is just a regular claw hammer. We can use this for building wood things or just banging on whatever. This is a little bit heavy duty. It's a sledgehammer for pounding on those things that you really have a little bit more harder time getting loose or getting out, or you need to pound those big stakes into the ground. This works out really well. One of the simplest maintenance projects that you can do yourself is change your oil, okay? And when you do change your oil, it's going to use one of these different wrenches to get that undone and things like that. So you just need to be aware of that. But there's a lot of videos showing people how to change their own oil. Another way you can do it is when you go into a shop, say, hey, I want to have you change my oil, but I want you to show me how to do it myself because I'm on the road all the time and I need to do this. And most people are pretty good. I mean, if you're paying them to do the job anyway, they'll kind of give you some pointers and things like that to help you out for when you're going to do it yourself. Whenever your oil's being changed, you need to also grease their little grease spots on your rig. They call grease certs. And this particular tool here is a grease gun. They have a big version of it, but they have this small version. The small version's nice because it's very compact. It uses these little grease tubes that they do cost a little bit more. They are at Harbor Freight, but they smaller, so it doesn't take up as much room in your rig, and they just pop in and out of this container right here. I have changed this out. This used to just be a solid piece that just was straight out here. I took that off and put this flex hose on here, so it's easier to get into some of the grease certs. But places like your universal joints, U-joints on your rig need to be, that's on your drive line, those need to be greased all the time. Your steering pieces where your steering moves back and forth, those have grease inserts on them. So grease certs are very easy to get to. Some rigs don't have as many as other rigs. My rig is an older rig and they have a lot of grease certs. And so it's important to keep those greased. Usually if you take your rig in to have the oil changed, they're going to do the grease certs at the same time, but you need to make sure they do that. If they are not doing it, that can cause you a lot of trouble down the road. But that is it for my basic tools, to be able to do just little maintenance jobs around the rig. Just those things I showed you right there. You can get those for very inexpensive, and then that way you've just got those tools to be able to do those different little jobs that you need to, at least to get you by until you get to some place where someone else can work on it for you if they need to. Okay, the next step up of tools that you can have, that's in addition to those other things, those are all basic type things, is that you can use torque wrenches. So a lot of times when I'm talking about jobs I do and things, I always recommend people do a certain torque. What the torque is how tight you make something. It's very easy, especially with bigger tools, to just twist the nut right off, or the bolt, break it or whatever. So a good set of torque wrenches. These are Pittsburgh. They're really good, and they you just have this nice container to keep them in. If you have any issues with them, or over time, if you feel like it needs to be readjusted, you just take them back and they'll just swap them out for a brand new one. So that's really, really handy, and they're very inexpensive. So this particular one starts out at 20 inch-pounds, goes up to 180 inch-pounds. So if you say 20 inch-pounds and there's 12 per pound, right? So that's about a 1.5 pounds right here or so on this inch-pound one. But these other ones, they start as low as 10 pounds and go all the way up to as high as 150 pounds. You can get them higher than that. For example, my wheels here, they take 450 foot-pounds of torque to tighten those all up and everything. And so I don't have a torque wrench that big. That's what the tire companies do. So that's what I take it into them and have them do that, because I don't want to deal with carrying around a big old 450 foot-pound torque wrench. Now, something I just recently got are these. So that's an open-end wrench, but it's got a place there for a socket to go into. So I can take my torque wrenches, put in there, and I can torque the nuts on certain things. For example, when I put my toilet in, it said to tighten it to the floor based on so many inch-pounds. So I can take the box in that's for that particular socket on the toilet, and I can put my torque wrench on that and tighten it down to that torque, so that I'm not over stressing the base of that toilet or whatever else I'm actually working on. So these are pretty handy to go along with the torque wrenches. So when you put a socket on something or a wrench onto some of these different bolts on whatever you're working on, sometimes there's just not enough room to move the handle back and forth to undo the bolt, and it just, like, you can take forever. If you're hoping that you can get one click out of it so that you can keep going just a little bit, but it takes you forever to do it, because there's just no play between where that bolt is hiding and where you're trying to work through. So I found this new little thing. A cousin of mine sent me an information thing about this, and I thought this was pretty cool, so I picked one up. It has different size, so you can do 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 3/8 inch sockets with this particular item. And the way this works is that this plugs into one end of this, and there's a chain that goes through here. And so I can put my socket on there, put it into where it's going to connect to the bolt that I'm working on, where I don't have any movement or anything. This just stays solid like that. And now this is sticking out somewhere else, and I take my ratchet and plug into it, and I have my full movement out here. So, and as I move this, it moves this over here. So, you know, I got all this movement to get this bolt or nut off. So this is a pretty cool little additional tool. This was like 30 bucks, 40 bucks, something like that. So not very much. And that's kind of how all these are. You just keep buying one here, one there, as you have time or money available to you. You know, I did not buy all these tools at one time. But this is a pretty cool little tool. I thought was pretty neat and very handy. The story that I heard about this, some guy wanted like $1,500 to change something or something like that, and the guy says, why so much? And he says that's just how much it costs, because the bolts, you can't get into them very easy. It just takes a lot of time to work those out of there. And so he bought this and was able to replace it in a matter of 15 minutes. So if you have the right tools, it makes the job a lot easier. We're definitely moving into the more advanced tools at this point. So one of the things is that when we're working on our solar or things like that, they use those real big wires when I'm redoing my batteries and things like that. Some of those wires are bigger than my thumb. And so they need a special crimping tool. And that's what this one is right here. This is a hydraulic crimp. You just pump it in there, and it just crimps that end back onto the wire that you need to put it on. It has different sizes right here of dies that you put into the end right here. And so you can do anything all the way from, this is saying anything that's all the way from 10 gauge, 6 gauge, 16, clear up to double aught in this particular case for this one. So this crimping tool comes in handy for fixing ends and things on wires that where it's melted or the ends come off or whatever, this tool is handy to have, especially when you're just out and about. Now, you can get some that where it's just a little tool. You put the end in there and you hammer it with a hammer. That works well, and I did that my very first time I ever did solar on my other motorhome, and it worked just fine. So, you know, you can carry that smaller version around, or in this case, I decided, I was working with all these different versions. I decided, you know what, I'm going to get a nice crimper, and that's what this is right here. And so it works out very well, and it's got a nice carrying case here, always available in case I need something. Now, the next thing up is definitely something that a lot of you guys won't have to worry about too much. On my gas rig Beulah, the tires were torqued on, the rims were torqued on there at 150 foot-pounds, which is the max of what my torque wrench was. Okay, and I could use a breaker bar and I could get those undone pretty easily. I mentioned just a minute ago that this rig here, this is a big diesel pusher, these tires are torqued on there at 450 foot-pounds. And it's nice that I do have this high impact wrench right here that will, you know, I can use to break those free, and it works on most everything I'm working on. But when you get up to 450 foot-pounds, sometimes this isn't gonna do it either, right? And so they have this, this is called a torque multiplier. The way this works is it's got different sockets in here that fit the wheels. So if you, and you can just use this here, and you're putting this handle on here, and it's to the point where all you're doing is you just turn it with your finger almost. What it's doing is it's called a mechanical advantage. And so instead of just you wrenching on that for 450 foot-pounds of force, you use this, and it makes it so that you're only putting out very little. My friend was demonstrating it to me. He just used his finger like this, and it took those 450 foot-pound nuts right off of the wheel there. Now, the reason that I'm carrying this, and for those of you that are going places that you know, your roadside assistance doesn't get to very easily, then like Alaska and things like that, you might want to carry something like this with you. It doesn't take up a lot of room, but the advantage to this is if I get a flat tire somewhere and I'm out in the middle, even out in Quartzsite, out in the desert park there, they're going to charge me so much per mile to drive off of the highway to come and work on my rig. And when I first had these tires put on, they didn't seal one of the tires right, and it went flat. And so they drove out to do it. He said that would be about a $600 service job for them driving out there normally. In this case, it was covered because it was their fault. But it got me thinking, you know, if I'm sitting out here in the middle of nowhere and I have a flat tire, I can use this, take the tire off, and put it in the back of my car. Have to take everything out of my car, but I could get the tire in there, drive it to a tire shop, get it fixed, bring it back, put it back on there, and it's not used for torquing the torques down, but I could torque it at least up to 150, or with this will go up to almost 300, and get that on as tight as I can, drive it to the tire shop, and then have them, you know, double check all those torques and everything. So saved me a lot of money down the road, and this was only like, I don't know, 50 bucks or something, so pretty inexpensive, maybe 60 bucks, I can't remember, but a very good tool to have, and definitely an advanced version of things that's available to you. All right, well, that's my little bag of tricks. You know, it's so easy to keep things maintained, inexpensively maintained, than to try to fix major issues down the road. So if you can pick up a few different tools based on your how you feel, you know, if you feel comfortable doing things like that, just pick up the tools that help you do that. You can really save yourselves a lot of money, because anytime you're going to call an RV tech to come out and do anything on your rig, like you got screws that are coming undone and things like that, that's going to cost you a lot of money. They always have a minimum charge just to come out, you know. If you have some kind of mechanical thing, you know, you have a flat tire, whatever the case may be, you know, it's going to cost money just for people to show up to look at whatever. So if you can do some research, you have some basic tools to do certain things, you can save yourself a lot of money. And when you're living in, you know, on the road full time, if you have a lot of money, that's great. Go ahead and spend it on that. We choose to use our money for adventure, and we, try not to have to spend too much on repairs and things. We'll do repairs, but I try to do most of that stuff myself just because I want to have the money to go out and have fun and things like that. And so that's what this life is all about, and that's what makes it so fun. So anyway, thanks for coming along with me today. Hopefully this has helped out a little bit. If you have any questions about any of the tools that I've got here, a lot of these, well, the majority of them I got from Harbor Freight. Check them out. Some of these other ones, like this little wrench here and my torque multiplier and things like that, I got on Amazon. They're listed on our Amazon link. If you look here, you can go out there and see those and just see which ones I actually ended up purchasing on that. So you can see all the different things that we use by just looking at our Amazon links. And whatever you get there, it doesn't cost you any extra. You use those links. We do make a commission, or could make a commission on some of those, so we do appreciate all the support. But anyway, other than that, thanks for coming along with me today, and we'll just plan on seeing you on our next video or down the road somewhere. So take care. Bye.